Hey, we're back. Another
Hello.
episode. Mike and our two good friends. We got John Glazier, DGeo, and we got John Orlando. X. You never really X FDNY, are you? Really?
Right.
Well,
No.
We'll start with John. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Why you're here? What are we talking about? That was bad because you're both John. That was
Right. We're both John.
And go.
And go.
We'll talk. We'll start with John Orlando. Who are you?
All right. John Orlando, retired from the FDNY after 27 years. Spent about 11 years in Engine 216, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and then went over to fire marshals. And as you guys know, but not everybody knows, fire marshals, New York City, responsible for origin and cause of fire. 2016 became supervisor fire marshal. And about 2022, the chief fire marshal said, John, can you start looking into why we're having all these lithium-ion battery fires, like in the investigations?
Yeah.
So I went through a process working through, your friends in hazmat and operations, fire prevention, to go after these places, but really just working to train the fire marshals about what to ask at these scenes and what to look for. And then, July 24, I retired and I started my own consultancy because I was getting a lot of demands for my time and presentations about what we were finding in New York City. Because as you guys know, New York City was like the hotbed of activity. And then once we started tracking, the media picked up on it with all the fatalities. And that was when the lithium-ion task force was born for the FDNY. So
I love it. And John Glazier now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm a packaging engineer. So I went to school at RIT studying packaging and all things that are packaging. So I'm a little bit different. I'm not actually a fireman, but I've been doing chemical packaging for about 25 years. So working with some of the nasties and the dangerous stuff over major chemical manufacturing plants. I joined DGeo in 2023 and met at the helm in the forefront of lithium-ion battery packaging. So we look at battery packaging and the essence of all forms, whether it's new, end of life, or DDR, damaged, defective, recall. We develop our solutions to be front and center to make sure they're compliant to travel on the roadways. But most importantly, we prove our packaging out to make sure that it's safe for a family member to be next to it, at any given stage. So we prove everything out at 100% state of charge. We do all of the burn tests to make sure it's viable. We do everything third party just to make sure that we're not stepping on the scale in terms of data, and we're confident in what we develop and what we do. So I'm excited to spend some time with you guys today.
Well, like one of the things that obviously we talked to a lot of people about this, and we've been involved in the battery. We started like this whole battery destroyer thing, and because we were putting the rubber to the road. Like there was a lot of people out saying, oh, well, sand works and water works and vermiculite and kitty litter and speedy dry and all this other stuff. But now you guys are bringing, and we've been saying it's great stuff. You guys have been bringing stuff out there with materials that I'd like you to kind of introduce, is like to put out, mitigate, we'll say, the battery issues.
Sure.
So do they work?
So the answer is yes, they work in some capacity. They're in by and large, the ones you mentioned, sand, vermiculite, water, salt bath, cryogenics, they have a functionality, but they don't do front to back. And that's the difference of where we're focusing. So when you think of Obexian FR or the Obexian product line, the base ingredient is the OcuGrain. And that's really the reactive substrate that's going into the packaging. How that works, it works to basically encapsulate the lithium-ion battery, regardless of its state. When it goes into a volatile state or into a thermal runaway, it works almost instantaneously when it reaches a threshold of 60 degrees Celsius. So a lot of the other materials or substrates, they're kind of cold or non-reactive, which is why they're different. Yes, there is the porous bead, but that really takes a lot of temperature to get it into an excited state before it starts to do something. So where we're different with the OcuGrain molecule is that they hit 60 degrees Celsius, the material starts to release water, we go into an extinguishing effect, but most importantly for those who are exposed or around it, the OcuGrain starts to work like a filter, and it starts filtering out the VOCs, the toxic acids, and scrubs a lot of the byproduct. So regardless of strength of battery, regardless of condition of battery, it really takes a lot of the thinking out and gets you to a safe state.
Yeah.
So how does that differ from, say, overpacking with vermiculite or kitty litter or sand? Like, what are the major differences that somebody's going to see if they have the two side by side and it's going off?
Yeah, I would jump in and go in real quick too with one of the other issues we started talking about in 22 when we started having the OEM meetings and trying to mitigate as we've seen the increase in fires, trying to get other agencies involved to help us out. The one thing with the sand, and John will get into more, not having the absorption properties, but it's heavy. Water is heavy. So then once we packed all this stuff and we put sand and we put water, then it was, who's transporting it? Then they were like, it's too heavy. We can't get our guys to transport it. So that became an issue with other agencies like sanitation, DEP, that they're like, yeah, guys, we can't lift this stuff up. And even for the firehouse or the fire guys or firefighters to try to get it from an upper level down to low level. So that's where we're really looking for something that was more.
I can remember when they first wanted us to overpack a 55-gallon drum with water. And they were like, okay, well, we can't put it in the elevator, right? So it was like, well, they're like, we'll bring it down the stairs. And I was like, no, like, I'll get this down the stairs, but I'm not going with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, then again, the water, get it. Initially, you're still putting the fire out, water get in the tub, you throw some water in there, you throw it, if you have a little bucket or something, throw some water, But because of the stranded energy and the stored energy, and it's compromised now, even if it wasn't affected, you still got a lot of energy in that battery that we know has a very high chance of reignition, which where this Obexion comes in, because it does a lot of what John said, like filtering out the toxic gases, which we're still studying on the effects, inhalation effects, which we know there was some recent issues. But John, I'll let you explain. You know a lot better than me, but I know I've seen it. It's great.
Yeah, I think so. Sand, water, salt bath, right? They work. You mentioned going up into a structure, right? So in this situation, you could take bags of the AquaGrain material or the Obexion FR, get to a sink, get to a bathtub, basically over pour or submerge the lithium ion in question, and that gets it to a safe state so it can be remediated with the appropriate devices to take it out. When these batteries go into their thermal runaway, the temperatures are extreme, right? So it's very unknown what the final progressive state will be with temperature. We have seen peak temperatures of 1600 degrees Celsius, so very violent in terms of temperature. What we see when we're using the AquaGrain at the core is it's basically isolating the temperatures, but most importantly for those who are around it, and you mentioned curing it or getting it to a safe state, during thermal runaway, regardless of peak or end state, with the Obexion FR material around the battery, you physically, and I'm not going to encourage you to do it, but you physically can put your bare hands on the exterior of the container because it allows to remain ambient due to the cooling, due to the water saturation, and due to the filtration process. So it's energizing or de-escalating the situation to get it into a more safe state, which is a lot different than sand, vermiculite, and other, which basically hold it in position, but it still needs to be dispositioned. So that's where it works a little bit differently.
I think for us, that's where this product jumped out at us as a viable solution to other types of overpacking materials, because we were told that these other types of overpacking material filtered out the air, filtered out the gases and things like that. And then over and over again, we were being exposed to stuff that didn't, and a few a few flash events, one in which Bob was directly involved with, really, that's why he's got no hair now. It really highlighted that this product wasn't doing what it said it was doing. And I know that when we came across your product and, the results of the metering and the results of the flammability tests and all this stuff were pointing in a direction of like, oh, wait, you mean this can really be done? That we were absolutely excited about that.
Yeah. And I'll jump on that because I know Bobby saw it firsthand. But one of the other, I think, phenomenal things that I truly appreciate about the product is how well it works. So in a typical situation, you'll see something go into thermal runaway. That can be for, depending on size of load, capacity, weight, etc. But anywhere from 5 minutes to days, right, before it finally gets to a state where you can physically start to move it. generally speaking, when it goes into peak thermal runaway, start to finish within one of our packed containers, we're seeing less than 30 minutes from the beginning to the end of the whole thermal event. So really kind of shortens that window, shortens any potential exposures, reduces the risk, and, like, again, just keeping everything in a safe state.
Yeah, I'll jump on there too. I mean, I was at a few scenes. We started using it because we wanted to take the batteries away from all these retailers that are working on the batteries, because we were trying to discourage it. And they started overpacking. And for whatever reason, whether taking it apart, it lit up in the can. So now the firefighters could put their SCBA on. We're there as like security, letting the delivery guys get their bikes back. So, and then we're walking around and this stuff is going off. And I can tell you one particular incident after the big Madison Street fire, 91 Canal. All three of us felt sick after, as this stuff was burning, and that had some of the other overpack material in it. One guy actually tapped out, after, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what do you mean? You're not allowed to tap out."
Right.
Yeah.
We're
supposed to be doing it, a job, but of course, but yeah. So when I've seen this work, when I saw John and DGeo demonstrated at an event first time, it was a non-event, so it was I didn't see anything happen. So I'm like, wait, are we supposed to see flame shooting out of the battery?
Well, so that's like the first time I was introduced to this stuff, and I've told this a couple of times. It's like it was in San Diego, and what happened was, the guys from your team was like, yeah, it'll take the toxic gases out. I'm like, that's a pretty tall order, and we tested it, and it did that. And I was like, oh, geez, it really did do that. You came with receipts.
He was so excited over that. I was getting like half-hour phone call updates on, all right, we just burned it, and the sensors are not picking anything up. Like, it's legit not picking anything up. So obviously me and Bob have talked a ton about, using the product, playing with the product, testing the product ourselves, but anything that we're doing is just going to be anecdotal. What kind of testing has Obexian FR been through to prove the claims that you guys have on it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we do everything through third-party testing. So we've tested it in a lot of different formats, a lot of different package configurations. We have to test things sequentially so that we're not saying one result is good enough. What we'll do is we'll buy multiple battery types. We try to buy the same battery from the same manufacturer so that we have a constant. But we will put two different batteries within a container to make sure, or multiple different batteries in a container to make sure we have that volatility, to make sure that we see, the thermal runaway occur, as well as the propagation from cell to cell to cell. So usually what we'll do is we'll test in multiples so that we have data points. We'll test in different formats and different sizes. And then we have a calculated value where we know how much occugrain is equivalent to a specific amount of watt hour. And generally speaking, we're in the dangerous goods world, so we err on safety more than, anything else. So we usually put a factor in there to make sure that it covers. So generally speaking, through our testing, we push to the extremes. We test everything at 100% state of charge. We test things in a very volatile state. In most cases, we put excessive amounts of thermal heaters on there to make sure that it really ignites all at once, because that is technically a worst case scenario. And essentially our goal is to turn that battery into a jet engine within the material, and then record the temperatures at the battery, the temperatures above and below the container, and then the temperatures on the sides of the container, to make sure that we're not seeing any anomalies and or any strange data propagation within the container. So again, we're basically constructing what we'd like to see in terms of energy, weight of battery, and then we have a third-party facility do the test for us, so that it's controlled. It's not DGeo saying, well, this is what we did, and fudging the numbers behind the scenes. This is what we do. We pay to a third-party lab. We get it tested and certified. In addition to what we've done, the parent company, Doloff, has their own testing that they've done both in the UK and other locations in Germany and Israel. They too have their data that they run through third-party labs with video and all the data recording. So collectively, there's more than just what we've done to provide the validation in the material, as well as we allow others to third-party. We've got some major recyclers that have done their testing side by side with the names that you guys know. Yes, ours is the only one that we're aware of that performed successfully in different categories. We had the EPA do some testing in California with their own devices and their own monitors. That showed the low levels of gases, VOC and HF. And we continue to allow others to do the testing as they need to, just to prove it to themselves.
This whole sector of response has evolved. I mean, like, if you think about it, like before, I'll say 2000, batteries weren't a thing. And the evolution of where we've been in the 6 years since then has been staggering. I'll throw this to John Orlando first. Is where we are now, where do you see us in 2 years, 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're still underreporting, right? Fire departments across the country. Of course, Europe, I talked to a lot of friends in Europe. They're not even tracking the fires yet. So we're still underreporting. I think a lot of fire departments are catching on. But because lithium-ion is so prevalent in so many devices, whether it's your cell phone, your laptop, your power bank, vape pens, and then, the push for multimodal transportation. So get people on e-bikes and scooters. We still don't have enough regulation around making sure everybody has like certified devices. So this is growing exponentially, really. And the one thing, if you don't want to listen to me, and I can tell you, fires are up again this year from the year before in the FDNY. So we're up to about over 290 for 2025. I think last year we were 279. So the fires keep going up because we keep introducing more product. And look what's happening on airlines. So that's how we know, like, this is real.
Yeah, I when we go and we teach these battery classes, one of the first buy-in questions that I often ask is, how many people have been in the past year to a lithium-ion battery incident? And, you'll get 2 or 3 people that raise their hand. I go, okay, how many of you have been to a structure fire in the past year? And everybody raises their hand. And I go, all right, do you see the disconnect here? Because if you went to a structure fire within the past year, you've been to a lithium-ion event. You just didn't know it. And, not talking about it from like a everybody dies of COVID type of a thing. But if you have a fire in a structure, there's always going to be lithium-ion batteries involved. So This is not like a one-off thing where, it's just New York City that's dealing with. Everybody's dealing with it, and they're dealing with it in such quantities they don't even understand what they're dealing with yet.
Yeah, and that's why I try to teach the same thing. I always, one of my first questions, it's the same, Mike, similar, is like, are you tracking? Like, are you doing investigations? And look, unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the resources that FDNY has, right? We had a 24/7 fire investigative force. There's a lot of 70% of the fire service across the country is volunteer. So that fire investigator may not be working that day, maybe in the county, not in the local area. But just getting them to track is then you could understand the scope and how big this really is.
It is big enough that I try to tell everybody, listen, like, a bag of this stuff should at least be on a chief's truck. Because, like you said, right, you realize that you've got this sitting on the ground. You do a quick overhaul. You throw it in a tub. You cover it in the material. You throw it in a bucket. You cover it in a material. You've rendered the area safe to now at least work in. And I don't even think people understand enough how this needs to be. You got a Halligan, you got an axe, you got a bag of this. It's one of those things that needs to become ingrained in the psyche of the departments.
I agree. And then there's different sizes, John, right? So we could, because again, for the smaller devices, we're seeing an increase in power tool fires because they're susceptible to similar abuses that e-bikes and e-scooters, like the micromobility, is susceptible to. So that's why we're seeing an increase in power tool fires. So again, having a bucket that's the right size for power tools and the bucket that's the right size.
Well, that's a great question. Is like, how do you get rid of like a volume, right? Like, you go to Best Buy and they got that huge bucket in the front vestibule of the place. I want to get rid of 700 batteries. How can this product do it?
Yeah, I think again, John, it's just having the right volume.
Right. I mean, you guys have some pretty big options, don't you?
Yeah, so if you have a large quantity or more than one or two, and you're at let's say in a store, or you're doing a pickup, or you're doing a cleanup, and you need to remediate quite a few batteries at once, we use a product called Obexian AG. So this is a rigid poly bin. It is fully lined with the OcuGray material, so it's clean and easy to use. The user can pick up the battery regardless of state, new, end of life, DDR, or physically on fire, put it inside of the container, and it's brought it to a safe state. Not only can it be stored within for an undetermined amount of time, but also it can be safely and effectively moved through the roadways, as it's DOT compliant. It has a special permit allowing for the movement. And again, it can hold quite a bit of energy. This one's certified for 9 kilowatts of energy.
That's great. I mean, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this on the streets as time goes on. I think getting this product out there to people is going to be a big deal. What is the recommendation for, like, let's say first responders to mitigate this? And I know we're kind of short on time, but what do you think? Where do you think this fits? Do you think it fits on every fire truck? Do you think it fits on certain firehouses, or what?
Yeah, I think again, having maybe the smaller level, like you said, the Chiefs car, Mike. Back to your point, having something in the Chiefs car, because they're going to respond to almost every scene. Having like that, the special unit that carries the larger quantity of it for larger scenes. New York City, we tried to get some other people involved in it, but it really didn't work at the end of the day because they didn't have the resources, and we know how to handle it. We have the SCBA. If it's right after a fire, we have, the PPE and so forth. So it's probably better that fire departments handle the overpack. But once it's overpacked, like John said, and it's safe, to move around. And if you want to get somebody else involved, or bring it to your waste recycling center for the county, or something like that. But having, I think, a smaller volume on the Chief's car, or even the engine company or a truck company, and then have some larger volume with the hazmat teams or rescue even teams, depending who responds to certain incidents.
I think this is great. I think there's going to be a lot of buzz around this. I think it's going to be a thing. I want to thank both of you guys for coming on and chatting with us. John, Orlando, if they want more questions, they have questions for you, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, great. I'm on social media. So John Orlando, my Orlando Safety Solutions. I'm on LinkedIn. I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, on Facebook. So please reach out any one of those three to get me. And then you guys, of course, know how to get me. I think I've arrived. I made it on Hazmat Guys. People are like, do you watch those guys? Do you watch those guys?
Yeah.
I'm like, the Hazmat Guys are actually mad at me because I used to call them out to a lot of scenes.
Yeah. 2 o'clock in the morning to stand around for 3 hours.
Right. With delivery guys that weren't happy, but.
Yeah. John Orlando, John Glazier, sorry. How do they get in touch with you, or if they want more product information or whatever?
Yeah, obviously you can reach out to me. I'm at DGeo. So my email cut. My email is jglazer@dgeo.com, or you guys can just use my information, send it out to anybody who's inquiring.
Yeah, we're going to put a bunch of extra information in the show notes, and get your hands on this stuff. It's amazing. I want to thank you guys for coming on, and we'll see you guys soon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Bobby.